Hey everybody, Adam Tracy, and wanted to talk about the concept of code as speech, which is really just this theory, if you will, that code is protected under the First Amendment. And it's actually well established precedent in the United States that software code is protected because it conveys ideas and information. And that extends to cryptographic code, blockchain, crypto, what have you. And so, fast forward to today, and you have two nagging sort of issues out there as it relates to privacy within the context of blockchain. You have mixers, right, like the Tornado Cash, and you have privacy cones like Monero. And through this Bitcoin crash, Monero skyrocketed. And there's a great deal of consternation amongst everywhere from exchanges to wallet providers as to whether Monero is something that they can list or establish a wallet for, given AML and KYC concerns. Because Monero and other privacy coins obscure the buyer, the sender, the route, the amount, everything, whereas Bitcoin, open book. So, looking at code as speech, right, and starting from this baseline First Amendment analysis of whatever I say is protected. Well, one, not everything you say is protected. Going back hundreds of years, there's things called fighting words, where there's certain you can't say yell fire in a crowded theater when there's no fire. There are things that you cannot say, and so there are limitations to it. And I think people tend to think, well, I can say whatever the hell I want. Well, you can't. So we have to look at the courts and what they've said, right? Now, Tornado Cash, when they found themselves on the sanctions list, right, litigated that. And the argument, well, the primary argument that they made was, again, code is speech. And this mixer, which runs by smart contract without any sort of centralized human interaction, should be protected. And it was rejected because at the end of the day, the court said that, yes, you have a right to publish the code, right? The underlying code. But the First Amendment does not encapsulate your right to use or access any sort of financial system or currency, right? So there's a limit to it. And similar arguments have been put forth regarding the use of privacy coins in different contexts, mostly criminal, so it's not a really great example, but the same concept is held true. Just because you use it doesn't mean you are piggybacking on the free speech elements of the underlying code, which originated the transaction, facilitated the transaction, or otherwise acted as a store of value for that token. Or in the context of like a mixer, just because you're using it doesn't mean you're piggybacking onto the rights of the individuals who put it together. So, yes, under the code is speech, well established precedent, you could publish and create whatever you want, right? But that does not, it ends at that publication. You've conveyed an idea, information, a thought, whatever the case may be, protected. But the right stops there, as it is right now. You do not have a right protected under the First Amendment or anywhere else to a particular financial protocol, a particular means of transacting value, a particular means of storing value. There's no federally established right to any of that. So when you see what sort of the crypto anarchists say, well, it's free speech, First Amendment, I get it, right? And it sounds nice, but at the end of the day, what sounds nice isn't always correct. And at least irrespective of whether you think it's correct, and there's legal scholars like the Electronic Frontier Foundation who is all for this argument, it's not necessarily the case because you have limited numbers of decisions that have basically arrived and said this will not tact or inure you from using a mixer, starting a mixer, using a privacy coin in certain transactions, and evading certain reporting functions and the like because there's the underlying code itself is protected. So that's code of speech, and you can go on for years, and I wouldn't advise you to because it's boring. But that is it in a nutshell. And the takeaway is once you publish it, your right to use it doesn't mean you have the same rights as the publishers of it. So that's that. You have any questions? AdamTracy.io. Know where to find me as usual. Talk to you next time. Cheers.